ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC, an all-natural skincare company that helps you glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your daily self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week with special guests, special expert guests, for weekly intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. Yeah. How do we do this?
So much, right? Because, and I was thinking about it earlier with the situation, right? What if this was a work situation? And those conversations are difficult, right? You have to question how comfortable am I with the person I have to call? If I can't call them, who do I call? What are they going to say? And with us, it's understood. And of course, life happens. How can we best support you in that situation? And that's what I look forward to. I know we're not talking about occupational wellness today, but the social environment of the environments that we work in, I want to be more like that.
Well, and I think that speaks to colleagues being friends also, because through this process of writing a book together, of being in community together, of lifting up women's voices, we become friends because it's a part of, I mean, not with everybody, but with a lot of people. I was
about to say, I would challenge it because for me, this is where people get confused. I think they get confused and they say that, oh, if I'm not your friend, I can treat you any type of way. That's not what that means.
No, I agree.
So if we're friends, I hear what you're saying. You know, we've grown in relationships. We know each other better. And so we know how to meet that person. But if you decide, hey, this person is not somebody I would spend time with outside of work, I think the bare minimum is the respect and the hospitality that should be in any work environment for us to, as teammates, work well together.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that's the line where when we talk about social wellness, people are, oh, well, if we're not friends, it's whatever. This is not middle school and it's the cool kids and then not cool kids and we treat each other a certain way. We're not doing that.
Right. Thank goodness.
Right.
You know, that pops up so often amongst women, that middle school or high school thing. And boy, it is something to address because I see it even now. And, you know, what am I? I'm a Gen Xer. I'm in my 50s. And some women show up some ways and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, we all know it in our bodies when it shows up that way. Like, we feel it. We're like, whoa, wait. I'm not in middle school. I was really bad at that in middle school. I don't want to go back there. And just having that emotional intelligence and wellness, actually, I think is what it's about.
And that's why I'm so excited about our guest today, because I did meet her in high school. And even though we weren't the best friends and we weren't in the inner circle, you know, we talk about there's the people that are really close to you and the people further out. But I'd hire them in a predominantly white area at the time because the demographics of the high school are different now. But she, as a young Black woman, taught me a lot about, hey, like, even if it's something simple, we have this story, and I'll share it before they come on. I had borrowed a pencil, and I'm big on like school supplies. You ladies know I always talk about my planners and my pens and everything now. And I had borrowed this pencil from Sammie, one of our guests. And she had said, and I gave it to somebody else. Somebody else needed a pencil. And she came back looking for her stuff. And I said, oh, I gave it to somebody else. She said, well, you didn't ask me for permission to give my pencil away. And at first, y'all, I was like, who does she think she is, right? But then it was like, well, why did I ever think that about somebody? Who am I to ask that of somebody? So I had to check myself and then realize that's actually very healthy, because I know I would be mad if somebody gave my pencil away, you know, because I love my school supplies. So that was huge when I was growing up, and it's really helped me do that in all these different situations I've been in since.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, you want to give us the definition, and then I can introduce our guest, and let's get this convo started.
Let's do it. So today, ladies, we're going to be talking about social wellness. And social wellness is about the ability to nurture ourselves, others, and our relationships with healthy boundaries. It includes balancing the other 7 dimensions of wellness and actively participating as an interdependent being in the web of life.
I love that we have that in the definition, that it's about balancing the others, because it really is.
Because they can throw it off.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to dive into this conversation.
Me too.
All right, y'all. Today, our guest, we have two, the dynamic duo. I'm very excited. The Sammie Nicole and FeeFee Show is a channel on YouTube that consists of a dynamic mother and daughter duo from Atlanta, Georgia. Whoop, whoop. We're all ATL in the house today. Yes. On our show, we discuss all things love, life, relationships, fashion, beauty, and pop culture from both the millennial and Generation X. We enjoy discussing topics that we're both passionate about and enjoy bridging the gap between the two different generations, as we do on our show too. So welcome, 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 y'all.
Yes. Hey, ladies.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Amazing. So excited to have you two here. I was telling you before we came on, when I think about the two of you, I think about Karen LaRenee's chapter on the dialogues between generations. So I love that you guys have a show together, and I would love for you to tell our guests more about what you do and what you do to be intentional about your wellness when it comes to social wellness.
Yes. So what I like to do to be intentional about my social wellness, in regards to like how I treat myself, the first thing that I like to do is, and this is the season, like I mentioned earlier, in my life, is giving myself grace, in all that I do. And learning not to be so hard on myself, especially when I'm learning new things, and to not let fear consume me when I'm learning new things or going through challenges in my life. So that has been the theme of my life at this particular time. And that's how I, giving myself grace, I'm realizing that it's allowing me to nurture myself. And to self-soothe in a way, and to just give myself that space to know that it's okay. It's okay if you make mistakes. It's okay if you get flustered with things. It's okay. And that has really helped me. And it also helps with mental health wise too. So that's how I nurture and take care of myself.
I love that. And I want to go, excuse me, Miss FeeFee, I see that you have a next thing. I want to go a little bit deeper, Sammie, because I think that cannot be minimized, because when we always talk about the wage gap and the reality of the situation where women are, right? And what we also know is that women's education is also, clearly we highly educated now, but the relationship with women and learning, I think, can still be talked about, because when we learn in school, we have to get a certain grade based on this teacher's grading style, basically, right? And if you don't learn it that one way and get it right how this person wants it, then your grade is affected. And yes, it causes those relationships, right? But in life, and as women with our own businesses, we know really when you get success is after you've failed a couple of times. And so for me, like SWOT analysis has been great. Okay, every time you show up, hopefully this is the best time if you do your best, right? And then that helps with the nurturing too. Like, I'm going to show up and do my best. But when I do that, my iPad was dead. Like, we finished recording the audiobook this past weekend. All your technology should be charged when you get there, right? It was dead. That's where I was that day. And so one thing that I talked about as a wisdom in action on one of the shows was noticing instead of judging. So instead of being like, dang, Shannon, how are you going to show up to your audiobook session and not have your stuff charged? But instead it was, well, what's going on? I do need to plug myself in. I need a little more self-care. I need to pour a little bit more. Maybe I'm running a little too low, so I hear what you're saying. And I think that we can minimize it sometimes and beat ourselves up. But the last thing I want to say too is that it's part of the learning curve, right? When you're doing anything new, as you work to get better at it, there's going to be the part of overwhelm and even the part of plateau, to where you feel like, okay, I got here, I'm not going up, I must be doing something wrong, when really we just got to keep going. So I love that. Give yourself grace.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Miss FeeFee?
For me, setting boundaries. Learning at my age as a Gen X that I need to set boundaries. Boundaries, with my daughter at work and in my relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that, being recently divorced, I think back, if I would have set some type of boundaries, in my personal relationship, how it probably would have, helped me, on that end. But just learning how to set boundaries, which helps me to be more emotionally intelligent, and learning that from a millennial, because, I didn't know. And you can't, do something that you don't know. It was never
you
taught.
don't know, you don't know.
It was never taught to me. So I think that has really helped with my social wellness, setting boundaries in all aspects of my life. Yeah.
I love that, FeeFee. And I suspect we're around the same age because our kids are around the same age and we're both Generation Xers. But I think about, in Still Point, in my first book, we talk about the 5 skills of self-care. And the last one is about boundaries. It's about saying yes or saying no. And especially for women, and especially I think for women raised in the South, that saying no one is so crucial, because as we were raised, we were often taught to be nice, or, to not say no or set boundaries, or, and Shannon was asking me before the show, what are you thinking about around social wellness right now?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the fact that as the world opens back up and our calendars are getting more full and more and more, and y'all know, you have a show, you have it's a little bit, wow. And that boundary piece of saying no, even to the good stuff sometimes, right? To be able to refill our buckets. I love that you said that about Shannon, about you needed to plug back in for your self-care. Yeah. We've talked on the show before that often if I run out of gas or I'm close to running out of gas in my car, it's a very good indicator that I am not doing enough self-care because my tank is almost empty. And I love that with the analogy for your electronics. And Sammie and FeeFee, I'd love to know your indicators when you're like, what's your indicator that pay attention to my self-care.
I'm a little off.
Yeah.
I guess for me is when I'm feeling overwhelmed emotionally. I need to step back and reevaluate and just, take some time for myself. I like sometimes just to have a long time, whether it's just sitting, in a quiet spot and just meditating, So I think, when I'm feeling kind of like, oh, okay, I've had enough. And it shows all over my face. I carry my emotions on my sleeve. So Samantha's like, Mom, are you okay? And, I tell myself, it's okay to say today, I'm not okay. I need to take a moment and regroup, get myself together, because today, it's not okay today. And I had to learn that, every day doesn't have to be a great day. You can say, okay, today, I'm just not feeling it today. And I need to take time to do something to get in my happy place or comfort me. I tell Samantha all the time, do something that comforts you, that brings you peace, brings you happiness. Even if it's just going down the street and sitting at the park, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but something that brings you peace and brings you joy. So.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And we talked about a joy list, but I like, which is a list of things that bring you joy on one of the episodes, right? But I love a comfort list too. I think that some of the things are probably on both lists, but comfort makes me think of something else, right? What were you going to say, Christine? I see you snapping.
Oh, I love that idea of having a comfort and a joy list. Because when I think of comfort, in Interplay, when I'm teaching, I often say, if you need comfort or soothing, you rub. If you need energy, you pat, right? So just a simple embodied thing. And I think of, I always know when I need comfort because I go for the softest clothes in my closet. I want soft. And so it's always an indicator to me, oh, you're really needing comfort today. I pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I would say for me, an indicator is when I'm irritable and when my sleeping pattern is off, then I know something is wrong. Like if I'm worried or stressed out about something, I can't sleep. I have insomnia. And then because I have insomnia, I'm irritated.
Yes, that's what I say. If I'm tired, hot, or hungry, it's over.
Yeah, so
Like,
that's when
yeah.
I know, like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to take care of myself. I need to check in on myself. So one of the things that I like to do to help me is I like to do grounding. And so that's basically where I'll go to my local park. I'll walk around the park for a little bit on a nice sunny day. And then once I'm done walking around the park, I'll take off my tennis shoes and I'll just walk in the grass barefoot. And I'll just start, for me personally, I'll literally start speaking over myself and praying over myself and just thanking source or God or whatever your belief is, just for the little things. Like, thank you, Lord, for letting me be in my right mind. Thank you, Lord, for letting me be able to walk. Just try to get back to the things that I'm grateful for. And for me, I find being out in nature is a way that is a great self-care tool for me, because it helps me to regroup and recharge. Just going for a walk and helping me to clear my mind, it helps me with that feeling of being overwhelmed, which then leads to me being irritable. And so that's what really helps me. And then I do things like sometimes I will take a nice warm bath, or I'll, read certain books or watch certain things to kind of help me. And then also, another cool thing that I started doing is I buy like little linen fresh spray to spray my sheets. So that way I can ensure to kind of help me, relax. And I find like once I, am able to relax and I don't feel as overwhelmed, then I'm able to sleep. Because the reason, and I'm finally connecting it, that I like feel the insomnia is because I'm worried or I'm having anxiety about something. And so once I kind of rest, and I stop and I think, okay, and I say to myself, Samantha, what is it that you're feeling anxiety about? What is it that you're feeling overwhelmed about that's causing you to be irritable? And so I kind of like talk myself through it. Like, for example, in my new position, I had to give a huge presentation, and it was in front of the whole division. And I work for a huge public health agency. And so that night before, I couldn't, or the couple of days leading up to that presentation, I couldn't sleep because I just had a lot of adrenaline, a lot of anxiety, and I felt overwhelmed. And then going back to the piece of me giving myself grace, I was worried, like, don't mess up, Samantha, don't stutter, make sure you present well, dot your I's, cross your T's. And so even in that moment, going back to giving myself grace, I wasn't giving myself grace. I was just so pumped up and so worried about how the presentation would go and overthinking it. And so that's what I realized when I had those moments.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier. And when you said that, I was thinking about a prayer that I had prayed, right? And I was like, Lord, show me the things I need to fix in little ways. I want to hear, I hope that I'm humble enough to hear it and I'm obedient enough to follow whatever I need to do, and that I don't have to be on this huge stage and make a fool of myself to finally understand that I need to learn how to talk to people or something like that, So I think that I hear a lot of people say that I'm the hardest critic on myself, but I think that voice is a good thing, right? Because when it's healthy. So I hear what you're saying, like we got to work on it and be more graceful. But I think that to completely do away with it would be on the other side of it, because sometimes people love us so much, they're not going to give us all 10 of the things we need to work on. If they say anything, they might give us a few of them, or they might just give us one of them.
Can you hold up? Did you just hear yourself, my friend?
What did I say?
10 of the things we need to work on.
As an example.
I need you to be gentle with yourself, because it's probably only one or two, if it's even that. Like having that grace, and I think it's a very common thing for women that we are really hard on ourselves, and I think society has taught us that, especially about perfectionism and things like that. And we know the disparities, especially between white women and Black women, and how the expectation of you have to do it exactly a certain way, or you're called not professional, or all the things. And it's that layers of misogyny and racism, and I think that self-compassion piece about I'm hearing exactly what you're saying, Sammie, about having grace for ourselves and each other. And yes, I'm hearing what you're saying, Shannon, about the balance. Like, we want to check ourselves.
But it reminded me of Cynthia Phelps, her inner ally cards, right? And so, ladies, we have one of our authors is about self-compassion, and she has these inner ally deck, and one of them's the cheerleader, right? So I was thinking, if I had a cheerleader and I'm racing on this track and I kind of trip, they're going to keep on yelling, you know what I mean? So, okay, you can keep going. And then there's the grandmother, and she might say, it's okay, I didn't know that till I was in my 50s, I wouldn't expect you to have it all the way together at 17, and they can be that voice to still help you get better, but also, like you say, have grace. I think it's really important to have that healthy balance.
Yeah. And that stood out to me about you saying that cheerleader aspect, because now I've learned, like, even if I have to present it at my job, right? And there are not too many people who look like me, right? It's not too many people who look like me, who are around my age, who present the way I, present. So even as my career continues to grow, I dealt with imposter syndrome, even though I knew I was more than qualified, professionally, academically. I still kind of struggled with that when I initially moved into my role, because it was a position that I had literally been praying for years to get. And so now, almost coming into my 1-year anniversary of my new position, when I tell myself, when I get ready to present, I tell myself, 1, you got this, right? And 2, they're no better than you. No one is better than you, and you deserve to be here. You deserve to have a seat at this table.
Yes.
You are worthy. And another thing, I also tell myself, they make mistakes too.
And you can add, and you've always been a great presenter. You can add that. And Shannon said, I've always been a great presenter. Yeah, because that's when I think about you up in front of the class.
Yes. So that's like, when you said that, Shannon, I'm like, okay, that's what my cheerleader says to me. Like, you deserve to be here. You're worthy, and they're no better than you. They are no one to be intimidated by. You're just as intelligent as they are. You're just as competent. And guess what? They make mistakes too. They're humans too.
Hello. And when we talk about social wellness, my hope would be, like, if my tag was out, tell me. You know what I mean? If I have a booger in my nose, let me know. If I needed to rephrase something, I can be approachable and coachable. And hey, tell me what I need to work on. And you don't have to come bite my ear off. So yeah.
Right.
And usually that's not what happens. Usually it's fine, and we've been working ourselves up. So
you get worried, and then going back to when I have to present, I get so worried, and then the presentation they go just fine. And then people are team, pinging me in the team chat. Great job, Samantha, you did this. And it's like, why was I so worried? I got myself so worked up and so flustered. And then I'm going back, then I'm frustrated with myself that I got frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord.
Ooh, something I started was this love file. When people send me stuff like that, I'll screenshot it. I don't always do. I need to be better, but I'll screenshot it and save it. Do you think that's something that would help you? Like, if you saw all the pings from a last presentation?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Now, I do keep like handwritten notes that people give me. Like, if they're saying you're doing a great job, or I think you're this, I think you're that, I do save those. But that's definitely a great idea that I'll start doing. Thank you, Shannon.
Of course.
Taking a screenshot of those.
Do you have like a place you put it? My friend had like this treasure box. She would keep stuff that she liked to keep. Do you have a certain place to keep your notes? Yeah. I love that.
I need to start a virtual one for those.
Right.
That's though. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
my thing. I'm trying to clean stuff out. I don't want all this stuff all over the place, but I do like keeping sentimental stuff like that.
I know. You know what, ladies? I had to throw away old tests and papers from college. I'm like, why am I holding on to this?
Because of the information. You're like, oh, this is good information.
Yeah, I'm like,
Let me not tell you, but that was me. I'm like, this college, they have access to good information. I need to hold on to this.
right.
You know what Melody LeBaron says? She's one of our experts on transforming spaces. She's a professional organizer. She says that we keep those things because they're ego props. Like when we're feeling bad, we want to prop ourselves. I have one of those. I had 100 in a statistics test one time, which I was like, what? That was on my bulletin board for years. Because anytime I didn't feel smart enough or good enough, I just look at that 100 on that test and I was be like, look, you did that one time, but you did it.
Hello. Ego
Or
pop.
the opposite side of the antithesis of that would be I have one exam where I completely failed it. It was like a biochemistry exam.
Yeah.
But I looked at it and instead of beating myself up about it, I was like, wow, look how far you've come. Like, who would have thought? And I thought back to where I was mentally and emotionally when I got that test back from my professor and I saw the failing grade and I cried and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But
We
now
both cried.
Right. But in the present time, I'm looking back on that, how I felt then, and I'm like, but look at God, look at where I'm at now. And if the present day Samantha could have talked to that, past Samantha, it would have like, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yep. And that's how I felt. That reminds me of this this paper I wrote in college. I was so excited, had this beautiful Black female teacher. She wore her hair up in wraps and brought her food. I said, she's just taking care of herself. I love it. Right. Got a C on the first paper. I said, wow. Right. I thought because I like the teacher, she like me, we're supposed to have, we're not friends. No, this is what the assignment was. And your story, even though it was personal and meaningful, it wasn't told eloquent, as well as it could have been. And so now being able to be an author and share my story, I still work on how to tell stories and stuff. But like you said, it come a long way.
You
I
come
love
a long way.
Yeah. So talking about coming a long way and career paths between you two ladies and you having the intergenerational show on YouTube, what do you guys do between yourself to keep the social wellness in a healthy place?
Ooh, what do we do? You want to go first?
Well, what I do to keep it in a happy place, I guess, is shop.
I do like to shop. I know how to spend some money, right?
Shop. And we like to go out and do social things together.
Cultural
things. So what's the last thing we did? I think we've gone to see the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. We've gone to concerts. We're getting ready to go out of the country.
Yeah.
Where are you guys going?
We're going to Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica. Yes.
Yes. So, that's how we kind of promote social wellness. And then we may even just do something simple like going up to Starbucks together and just sitting outside and just talking and people watching. If it's a nice sunny day, we both love being out in the sun. I don't know if it has anything to do with our sun sign. She's a Taurus, I'm a Capricorn. If anyone believes in astrology, I do personally, but just something as simple as that, we enjoy doing that. And then we'll call each other and talk about our day. We'll talk about things that we're going through at work or in our personal life.
Social media.
Yeah, social media. Well, so just being able to communicate helps. A lot of times our conversations with each other can be very therapeutic. Because when she has her moments where she may not be as resilient, because I like to shy away from the word strong, especially as a Black woman, because that strong Black woman trope is always just pushed on us and we're expected to wear it like a badge of honor. And I personally think when we put that out into the universe, we're invoking more experiences that requires us to be strong. And I also think it takes away from the humanity of us. Just the simple human experience and the beauty and the complexity of that.
I definitely hear you.
Yeah. And so, like I was going back to saying, there are moments where she may be weak and I'm able to stand in the gap for my mother. And then there are moments where I'm weak And my mother is able to stand in the gap for me. So I always tell my mom, I'm like, I think we are like soulmates. I don't think soulmates are necessarily always romantic. I think a lot of times they can be your soul tribe.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
Just people who you have that soul connection with. They don't necessarily have to be the same gender, the same race, the same sex, the same age. It's just your soul tribe. You guys just connect. You guys just get each other. So
and we've been together for so long. She's never, we've never really been apart. Only one Samantha was in college. Mm-hmm. So, we've been together her whole 30 years.
Yeah.
So we are so, connected, where, it's just us being together. It's just life, Mm-hmm. I used to tell people, all the time, I don't never want Samantha to leave. I always want her to stay with me. But I know that she has to go on and live her life, and I'll be okay. So,
the boundaries.
Codependency.
Yeah.
There's the boundaries again that, I'm learning, and I have to learn. So I would say, we spend a lot of time together and do a lot of things together. And we talk about a lot of things. And that's how our YouTube channel started. Mm-hmm. She would come home and say, Mom, did you hear about so-and-so and so-and-so? And I was like, no. And she would go, well, what's your thought? What's your thought as a Gen X? And I would give her, my thoughts. And she was like, Mom, we should start a YouTube channel. I was like, okay.
Yep. And that's how it was with us with Manifestation Mondays. We'd be in there talking about business stuff, talking about personal stuff. And I'm like, more people need to be part of this conversation. Let's do something, and Christine reached out for the podcast, and here we are. Mm-hmm. And I love it. Even little things like, Sammie, I was watching one of the videos, right? And you said your mom was out living her life and you were doing one of your hauls of your bag. Mm-hmm. And you had this little Lysol spray talking about spraying off the tables and the chairs, right? When you go out to eat. I said, that's such a good idea. So that, and now this linen fresh spray, because people have been talking about like not aromatherapy, essential oils and stuff on linen, but I don't do it. And I think I will.
Yes,
especially lavender.
Mm-hmm. Lavender is soothing. It's calming.
It's very calming.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, spray on your pillows. Yeah. And then, do you ladies know about the eucalyptus in the shower? You put that's always nice. Yeah.
I haven't done it yet though. Like a branch of eucalyptus. How do you
Yeah.
tie it up on the shower head?
So you know how the eucalyptus it's like wrapped together by like a rubber band. So you can just like or unattach part of the rubber band and
That
just
makes
connect it to your
sense.
shower head. Yeah.
That makes
It can just
sense.
hang off your shower head. Yeah. So
I'm gonna
just
have to try
like
it.
that. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try it. I'm gonna put it on my self-care list.
Yes, please put it
Yes.
on your list. Yes. Another thing that is also helping me, I like listening to a lot of sacred chakra music.
Me too.
I find that helps me a lot. And they have different sacred chakra music or different sounds, different frequencies that can help you. So if you're dealing with stress or anxiety, I listen to that a lot. Sometimes I'll listen to it while I'm working. They have different love frequencies that you can listen to. And for me, sound is so healing. Music is so healing. We know that. And it can really change your mood. Because it invokes certain, energy and spirit into you. So that's another piece of self-care that we do.
Yeah.
We both like to do
I
it too.
love music.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I love music. That's very soothing for me. I'll go in my room and just turn on jazz and listen to it for hours, R&B. So that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So we've been talking about boundaries. And what really interested me, FeeFee, is when you said that Sammie helped you with that. So when I think about part of what you said earlier, what it sounds like to me is if you would have set boundaries earlier and more clearly, then you would have had realistic expectations. Is that what you feel like one of the things that it's helped you with? How would you describe it?
Yeah, if I guess if I would have set boundaries early in all aspects of my relationship. And I'll give you an example where, where I'm learning to enforce them. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a consulting business. And I have a friend that I've been friends with for over 25 years. We raised our daughters together. And so she became one of my clients. And so, we went through the process of consulting. And afterwards, she started calling me like at 9 o'clock at night, wanting to discuss business. And I was like, and I would look at the phone. I was like, okay, this is my friend. We've been friends for 25 years. We've gone through a lot together. And she's texting and calling me at 9 o'clock about business. And so in my mind, I'm going, okay, Felicia, set boundaries. Let her go to voicemail or let her email your business email. And so, that's one aspect of setting boundaries and the outcome, because I would have answered the phone and I would have been kind of agitated, like, why are you calling me at 9 o'clock talking about something that's concerning business? So that's one aspect of me learning how to set boundaries. Yes, I think that if I would have done it in the beginning, the outcome would have definitely been different. Even with Samantha telling me, where, you made the point about her being outspoken.
Yes.
And saying, how she feels. Well, she's always been like that. She's always been very talkative, very outspoken, even as a child. And I never hovered that. I always let her be. I said, I'm going to let her be who she's going to be, as long as she's not disrespectful and, as long as it's not out of control. So Samantha has always been expressive of how she feels. So the pencil thing, that's her all day, every day.
Yeah. I love it. I'm here for it.
So she had no problem telling me, Mom, we need to set boundaries. This is just too much. I'm telling you, can't do this. I need for you to do this. This bothers me. You can't do that. So she cut it off instantly, telling me that I need to, we need to have boundaries. And, at her adult age, and I was thinking like, what? Boundaries? Why? I'm your mother. I asked you to do this and this is what you're going to do, because that's the way my mother approached me. So I didn't know anything different. And, and then to be honest with you, the term boundaries in relationships was like foreign to me. At my age, it was foreign to me. I was like, what is she talking about? Boundaries? I mean, what? But Samantha, being who she is and real firm about what she believes and what she says and what she means, she kept on. And I knew that, I know that my child loves me. So she's not doing anything, intentionally to be malicious. She means this, and I need to listen.
Yeah.
I need to listen to her. And so, I was like, okay, so can I set boundaries too outside of my daughter relationship?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, Mom, you can set boundaries too. So I started setting boundaries, and the outcome has been perfect.
And I think just doing the show with my mom, I've been able to, I already know her as my mom, but in doing the show, I'm able to learn who she is as a woman, as a human being, before she became my mom. And so that's been the beauty about our show. And touching on that piece about boundaries, I also have a very close relationship with my grandmother, who is her mother. And me and my grandmother, we sit down, we have talks, we have conversations. She's in her 80s. And now that I'm an adult, we're able to talk about more adult things. And so in me sitting down and talking with my grandmother, I've been able to learn about what her childhood was like, who she was before she met my grandfather, what her life was like being married to my grandfather, the highs, the lows, the things that she experienced with her family members. And in talking with my grandmother, I learned that she didn't have boundaries and that she grew up in a time as a Black woman, born in the 1940s from Mississippi. She grew up during a time where people who looked like her, they couldn't really have boundaries.
Right.
And if they did, they were severely punished. And so she had to deal with that social aspect of it. And then also internally in her personal network, so i.e. her family and her friends, there was also no boundaries set.
Right.
So in putting the two and two together, I realized that both my grandmother and my mother they never experienced or never understood what it meant to set boundaries. And so once I connected the dots between the two of them, I was like, oh, I'm going to have some boundaries.
Right. Right. And
we're going to fix this generational, discord or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to have boundaries and I feel like me having boundaries is I'm changing our story. I'm changing the trajectory of our family. Because when my grandmother was 30, she didn't know anything about boundaries. She didn't know anything about expressing how she felt. You know what I mean? When my mother was my age, she didn't really know anything about boundaries or expressing how she felt. The only thing only time they really expressed themselves is if they were upset. But other than that, they didn't push back. And they had to wait until the situation escalated for them to then speak up. But if it didn't escalate, they wouldn't say anything. And what happened to them would just happen to them.
Yeah, you just
and you just held it in and you just accepted it.
I think that's so powerful to talk about around social wellness. Thank you for sharing that because, when we don't have those boundaries, we also can't ask for what we need or want or what brings us joy or what we really love to do, and I think that's so important when we're talking about relationships and social wellness, like not just what is, but what do we want to create? What do you want your relationship to be like with your mom or your sister or your friend or Shannon and I've had this conversation before because, we lead very full lives. And sometimes we have people in our lives that don't understand that, right? And so having that ability to ask for what we need, what do I need from this friend or this friendship, or what kind of time do I want to spend with them? I think that's an important piece of this.
Yeah. And for you too, Miss FeeFee, I love how you said how you were open to it. You said, I need to listen to her because the environment is different. I've been trying to work through it, right? As we talk about the different generations and me losing my mom and my best friend losing her mom. And we talk about all the stories like we're talking about now, right? And some of it is, oh, we need to be silent as women. We get that a lot, even with our authors, with our guests. Again, even you, Sammie, as a speaker, you're like, I'm so nervous to speak in front of people. It's a thing, you know? So instead of shaming them and saying, oh, well, you told me to be silent, why did you do that? Again, that was part of the environment. If you didn't, you might not be here, you know? So that was appropriate in the time that it was. But now in a global age, when everybody has a phone and things are different and there's Excel spreadsheets and all this stuff, what is needed now? You know, I was thinking about occupational wellness and how excited I've been to step into these 3 companies and help women with their wellness and help with Shea Glow and Shea Butter. And I was like, these work environments are a safety hazard. I don't have to be here, right? There's boundaries, there's standards. And it really dawned on me the other day, not to say that we didn't talk about slavery, but in the history of occupational wellness, it hasn't been safe, you know, like it's not new when we talk about jobs and who I am as a Black woman trying to demand safety and effective, transparent communication. That's not how it's been set up. But now, as a woman who can start a business and can have these things, because even in the 70s, we talk about how that was when women were able to get credit cards for the first time. We have the opportunity to set it up different now. So what does that look like? You know, and as we have different generations, how does that look like when we communicate between each other? So I love your insight on that. Yes. So yes, perfect timing. One thing we do every week, ladies, is wisdom in action. So we know a lot. And sometimes when we don't do what we know, we get results we don't want. So we're really intentional about talking about wisdom and then talking about what we do with it. So for social wellness, what are you 2 doing this week to be intentional?
Go. Let's see. What am I doing to be intentional? You know what? What I'm doing to be intentional is not allowing myself to get frustrated so easily. That's what I'm doing to be intentional. Like intentionally just stopping, breathing, and just giving myself the space to learn new things.
Yeah. I love it. So if you had to do a hashtag, is it hashtag stop and breathe? Is it hashtag breathe and do new things? What would you say?
If I had to do a hashtag, I would say hashtag girl, give yourself some grace.
I like it. Yep. Girl, I'm going to write it down. We're writing it down to put it out there.
Girl, give yourself some grace. Stop getting so
Yes.
flustered and frustrated.
It's important.
Because I'm working on a project currently at work and I'm learning something new again. And I'm like, how do I do this? This is so frustrating. Yeah. And I think I'm also getting it's 2 layers to the frustration. It's one, because it's something new, so I don't know exactly quite how to do it. And 2, I'm having to ask for help. Right? And I'm used to knowing mostly everything and not having to always ask for help. So I'm having to be vulnerable and ask for help. And at times we know vulnerability can be very scary.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the different ingredients that pour into the frustration.
I hear you.
The components,
yeah. I've been working on that too, asking for help. Whew.
Yes.
What about you, Miss FeeFee?
I think for me, showing up as my authentic self. I work in corporate America, and sometimes, you know, you feel like you have to conform to the culture.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, that's not always a good thing. So I want to show up as who I am and not have to feel like that I have to water down who I am to fit in. So just showing up, you know,
as you are, that is enough.
That is enough.
Absolutely. Ooh. What about you, Christine? What's your hashtag this week?
Ooh, there's so many I was thinking about from this conversation. And I love Sammie's. I loved it a lot. Girl, give yourself grace. My social wellness hashtag this week, I think is going to be, I think this talk about boundaries is hashtag healthy boundaries.
Yes.
I like it. Ooh, and if I had to do mine, let's see. And I did. I had some hashtags written down. I think, I don't know. So many good things. Let's see. What am I actually working on this week? We're working on volume 2. We're working on, I'm going back to Agnes Scott. What do I want to say? I'll say what I had written down. Hashtag don't forget about me. Right? Because it'll be really easy to jump up. For example, this morning, right? Yesterday, my retwist appointment got pushed and it had already gotten pushed 2 weeks, right? So I'm sitting outside yesterday, pushed 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, if it gets pushed again, let's just do it in the morning. So I went and got it done this morning, but I didn't give that time to myself still. And it can't be optional. I'm still working on making sure that it's in there consistent. So as I continue to pour out and take care of our different communities, hashtag don't forget about me. Make sure I'm plugged in on that self-care.
Yeah. Because how can you pour into somebody else if your cup is empty?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we do good and we're like, okay, I'm good. I'm pouring from a full cup, and then it'll start getting dry again. And you got, let's stay full and pouring, giving from the saucer. Like, who is that says that? Iyanla Vanzant?
Yes.
Iyanla. Yes. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Oh, before we go, can you please tell our audience how to find you and what type of things you talk about on your show so they know what they're going to find when they get there?
Yes. So you all can find us on YouTube. We also have our Facebook and IG page, Sammie Nicole FeeFee Show. On our channel, we discuss all things love, life, relationship, pop culture, a little bit of fashion, beauty, and we do it from both the millennial perspective, which is myself, Sammie Nicole, and the Generation X perspective, which is my beautiful mother, FeeFee. Yes. And so we just have a great time, and we talk about a variety of different topics. We give wisdom based on our own life experience. And we have fun. We throw a little shade. We keep peace.
That's important.
Yes. On our recent clip, my mother was talking about what she learned as a young woman. She got married to my father at 21, and they met at work, and they knew each other less than 6 months before they got married. And so she shared her experience with that. And so yeah, that's our latest video that we have out. So check us out on YouTube, guys. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, ladies, for the work that you did on yourself to be able to work together and for coming on the show and sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
It was such a delight. Thank you. And we will put all those links in our show notes for our listeners to be able to find you also. So thank you,
ladies.
So fun.
It's so good. Fun. When I think about the wellness and the 8 dimensions of wellness, I knew one that everybody needed to know about the 8 dimensions, but also that it would affect the generations. So we know that to be true with the different stories that we've heard, but I love being able to bring 2 ladies on at the same time to talk about it like that.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we could just sit around and drink tea and talk all day.
And that's what we're going to do. We have this tour, we have the retreat that we're talking about planning, and we have more moments that we know are going to be like this. We're not going to be stuck in the virtual box all the time. So
absolutely. Well, what a great conversation, my friend. Is there anything that we need to lift up or give a shout out to before we end this episode?
I don't think so. All right. I think we're good. We're good. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode about social wellness. We'll see you live at 5 next week to talk about physical wellness. In the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise, and be whole. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.